Welcome in everybody to episode 35. This is going to be a great one today. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Haven't seen you guys since 2023. So now welcome into 2024. This year, we've got new faces popping up on the show, and boy, is this a great way to kick off the year. I'm here with another huge target guest. She's a former NFL cheerleader for the Houston Texans and the Arizona Cardinals, workout instructor for Hot Works, sideline reporter and host of the Texas High School Football Podcast, host of her own show, and the list goes on from there. So without further ado, guys, welcome in Miss Taylor Arenz. Taylor, what's going on?
Nothing much. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me on here. Excited to chat.
Oh yeah, I mean, I honestly can't tell you how I'm excited, but also a little nervous at the same time.
Oh, why is that?
I don't know. It's honestly that way with all of my guests. I mean,
I feel that.
I guess whenever I get so prepared for it, and once I finally get to it, and
Mhm.
we hit record, it's uh, for a second there I freeze.
Yeah,
Um,
oh, I feel that. I
mhm,
I do a podcast myself and I
mhm,
know you put so much work into it, so you
mhm.
just want it to go great, but I'm excited to be here and excited to talk.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and get started off with this. So my very first question is basically what I do with all of them. We'll start off with a little bit of an introduction for those who may not already know who you are. So, I mean, from the introduction I gave, if there's anything that I left out, if you want to elaborate on that or add to.
Yeah, I have a very diverse profession. I do a lot
Mhm.
of things. I have a lot of things that I love and I'm passionate about. So I got my master's and I have both have my master's and my undergrad in broadcast journalism. So I've been doing a lot of broadcasting. I am a high school sideline reporter right now. And then I do in the spring, it's about to start up baseball play-by-play for softball and baseball. And I am getting ready to start also my hosting season. I'm a host for Showstopper dance competition, so I'll travel all over the US to do these dance competitions and host them. And what else do I do? Hotworks. It's like my second year as a Hotworks virtual instructor. It's really cool. We are on screens across 500 locations. It's a studio. It's open 24 hours, and then you go in there into the individual saunas, and then you do the workouts on the screen. So I'm one of those people on the screens. And what else? Oh, I was a cheerleader for 5 years and I loved it. I got to do so many great things. I went to Pro Bowl and I went on a USO tour. So I have a very diverse background. I just ran my fourth marathon recently. I'm a spin instructor. So you name it, I do it. I just love a lot of different things. And
Wow.
I'm just fortunate enough to get to do them all.
Oh, for sure. And I would say one of the bigger things that got me interested in trying to get a hold of you to have you on here is that you and I are very close in age. We may be the same age. I know I just turned 24 not long ago. You're
I'm
23?
24.
You're 24 now.
I'm
Okay.
24 as well. Yep. Hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. And but yeah, I honestly think you've put it. I think you've put it best. You have absolutely stayed busy, and our majors, though they went maybe worded differently, are basically the same. And I know I a year or two ago I came across it, maybe 2 years ago now. I came across Sideline Attraction and I started listening to it. I was like, I've got to get a hold of Taylor to try to get her on here because there's so many things that we do have in common with as far as our dreams and career path that we want to take goes.
Yeah. And podcasts are fun because you kind of get your own rules. You don't have to be
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, limited to just doing something. You can really make it your own and get that experience. That's why I started my podcast to get experience. I've gotten a lot of no's in my life and some rejections from jobs and just
Hmm.
because I didn't have enough experience. So I was like, I do have experience, but okay, let's just make some more experience and start a podcast. So
Right.
I can just really have fun with it and play around with it. So yeah, I know it's a hard thing to do. So I'm glad that we're able to chat on here because I know what it's like being on the other side.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know there's been a few times to where I've drawn some interest in jobs and I would go talk and they said, "Well, you haven't done enough."
Mhm.
I mean, while I was in school, I actually started broadcasting when I was in middle school. I started in the 8th grade with high school baseball and I did it all the way through high school. So, I mean, for anybody that in the immediate area knows that I have done this for a while, but if you don't have that official experience, they don't even want to see you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. Feel you.
Mhm.
It's not that on air experience, but
Yeah,
we're doing all
exactly.
the same things as they're on air. Like when I feel
Mhm.
like I'm on the sidelines, where for Texas HS football, we're very big digitally. So we put all our stuff on our website and on YouTube and on
Mhm.
Twitter as well. We're big on there. So I always push things out on Twitter right away. And then I see other reporters that have all their cameras. I'm like, we're not going to see their package until maybe like later and like to the next day. So
Mhm.
technically, I'm doing the same thing as everyone, but they're not
Right.
calling it experience because it's not on
Right.
air.
Right, exactly. I'd say the best way I could describe it is, I mean, yeah, it may not be as fancy and it's scaled down, but it's
Mhm.
just as, I would say it's just as important of work, and you may be us doing stuff like this when we push it out faster.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I don't know for you, do you edit all yours on your own too?
Yeah, for the most part, I don't do a whole lot of editing because, I mean, I would say that whenever I do it with my guests, that they ask me the same thing. I try to keep it
Mhm.
as like as raw and authentic as
Yeah.
possible. And so far, nobody's made any big mistakes to where it would have to
Mhm.
take time to really go through there and find the spot and cut it
Oh, that's
out.
good.
So right now, I mean, if you were to go through and listen to a lot of my episodes, there may be like 30 seconds worth of time that had to be edited out.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Probably throughout the episodes, somebody might have paused where they stumbled over a word, then you had to go fix that. Yeah, but for
Yeah.
the rest of it, it's just straight through.
Yeah, that's pretty much what mine is. Sometimes,
Mhm,
well, I do a podcast for high school football as well because some of
mhm.
them they have like noise in the background, so
Yeah.
try to
Mhm,
eliminate that. But besides that, it's I like how you keep it raw and just
mhm.
very natural.
I would probably have to say, whenever I started, I told myself, yeah, I think that's the best way to do it because I don't want to make it sound like too fancy and too worked up. Just, I mean, just somebody who's got his own podcast and doing it for the love of the game, and
Yeah.
just trying not to sound too official while also
Mhm.
just gaining that worthwhile experience.
Like it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would say the worst amount of noise in those terms I've had might be whenever I was, doing a show about Georgia football with a lawyer buddy of mine, and, his office is right beside a train track,
Oh goodness.
right beside it. I mean, and a train come by, and I had to literally just pause it right in the middle of the episode because, I mean, just as soon as they got by the front door, they laid down on the horn. I was like, "You can't hear a single
Yeah.
thing we're saying." Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
That's just bad timing.
absolutely. I think we'll jump into a great place to start. It's just that would probably be to ask you where your journey started, and I think I'll start with this. I've always believed this, and it's mentioned in the description of my show where I put I think that sports help people escape the grind of the real world, where you
Mhm.
don't have a lot of stuff to worry about, and you're just there to have fun while you're at it, whether it's doing what we do with broadcasting it, or if we're just there watching it, or by chance if you're one of the ones playing it at the same time. Um, that could apply to playing, coaching, broadcasting. Um, so overall, I've asked this to maybe one other person. Would you say you agree with this statement that I've put in my description?
Oh yeah, I agree.
Mhm,
That's what I love
mhm,
about sports is that
mhm,
I think sports are timeless. That's
mhm.
the only thing that I think will last on TV. I mean,
Yeah.
nowadays you can get everything social on
Mhm,
social media. Granted, now like games are being on Peacock on exclusive
mhm,
stuff, but I think being a part of sports, it's you like you said, it's where you're going to have fun and it's like there should be no drama in sports, but sometimes they do make some, but it's something that's very timeless. And I think that sports are always going to be a thing. So that's why I like to be in sports and not the hard news because I'm a
mhm.
cheery person and I love just getting to know the athletes, the coaches. And I would have to agree with that statement that sports are where it's at.
Oh, for sure, I love it. So, in terms I think not long ago you posted something on Instagram, and then this is where I got the inspiration behind the question about places that you have, so like different states that you've lived in and different places you've visited and all. So,
Yeah.
well, where exactly are you originally from? Because I know you've lived in more than one state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say I'm from everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Originally born in Texas,
Okay.
and then we moved to Alabama.
Uh-huh.
And then we moved to Arizona for 7 years. From Arizona, we lived in Philadelphia. And then I moved to LA for a little bit. And then I finally landed back in Houston. So I've kind of been a little bit of everywhere. You would think my dad was in the military. He was
Mhm.
before I was born, but
Okay.
he actually was an industrial engineer. He just got promoted with his company and we're just having us move around.
Okay, I got you. That makes sense. I mean, I would say that uh, the closest description to that maybe with would probably be maybe with construction crews. You go, I mean, you go job site to job site to where you're not exactly stuck in one place. Like
Right.
I mean, the next contract or whatever however that work y'all got. I mean, you had to go and you were there for however long it took to build the joint. You know.
Mhm.
Mhm. Let's see.
East. I love that I was able to experience so much living in the East Coast, the West
Mm-hmm.
Coast, the South. I definitely love the heat. So you'll probably find me in the West Coast or the South. That's where my heart's at.
I got you. I got you. And in terms of, I mean, with as crazy as the weather can be at sometimes too, I know you've been all over the place. So one way or the other, I mean, you've actually, with being in all those spots, you've sort of gotten acclimated to all the different types of weather. So in terms of going to, I know the back whenever you were cheerleading, wherever the Cardinals were going, of course, if it was an outside environment, like if it were cold there, I mean, it probably didn't phase you that much. You come down to the south and it's kind of hot. Yep, I mean, so be it. I know some people who may have been always from up north may come down here and say, "Man, it's hot," and I mean,
Mhm.
I'm just sweating bullets down here, and
Yeah, I would have to agree.
mhm,
You definitely get
mhm,
adjusted to all the different climates.
mhm,
The humidity, the dryness. When I was
mhm,
out in Arizona, it was dry as all get out, wasn't good for my face, great for my hair. Now
mhm,
I'm in Houston, it's humid as all get out, so my hair is always big and bigger than life, and then my skin
mhm.
is much healthier. So it's so funny about the extremes of climates, but I kind of get adjusted to them. So where I guess it's nice living in a place more than a year because you get adjusted
Right,
to
yeah,
it.
right, and of course, I know there's been, I guess you could say that being in there for a short amount of time, you don't have that much time, and then as soon as it's pack up and go again, it's like, well, I haven't gotten used to it. So now with the jobs that you have, I would say now that you're back in Houston, right?
I am, yep.
Okay, I would say now that you're back in Houston, I mean, it seems like it's a good thing for you now to know now that you've been in. This isn't the first time you've been in Texas, so I mean, you've gotten plenty well adjusted to Houston. Uh, in terms of weather, and I would say from what I've heard, I've always heard this either driving conditions too, because it's much more populated than where I'm from, of course.
Yeah, lots of
Hmm.
traffic. Lots of
Hmm.
traffic here.
Hmm.
You are going to get traffic wherever
Hmm.
you go on the roads.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
something that I got a little break from living in Arizona for a year and a half. But now that I'm back, it's funny. It feels like I never left. And it just is going back to my roots. And all my family's here in Houston. So I've always considered Texas home because
Right.
that's basically where all my family is. So I've always
Gotcha.
been growing up and going back to Texas on family vacations, but we love Texas and I love Texas. So I hope to maybe one day call it my like permanent home, even if I get a job like
Yeah.
outside of Texas. I would love to just have like Texas to be my home base.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always heard good things about Texas, and I know that's probably one state that I'd love to visit sometime.
It's a good one.
Hmm. So we'll jump to the next question. I mean, so did your involvement in sports, whether it be, I would say, uh, I'll say athletic Taylor. Did you begin your life in sports at an early age? So I'll say when exactly did that start?
I got into dancing when I was like 3 years old. I
Hmm.
did dance and then I did competitive cheer. At one point I was doing both of them. And then I just ultimately decided that I wanted to be a dancer, which we're called NFL cheerleaders, but we are really dancers. I mean, some teams have more of like the stunting kind of thing and
Mm.
like that kind of cheer, but it's the team that I was on, or both teams I was on, it's dancing. So I did
Hmm.
dancing all throughout basically my whole life. I've been a dancer my whole life, and it takes a lot to be a dancer. Of course, your endurance has to be high, especially as a professional cheerleader. You're out there dancing nonstop for 4 hours or plus. typically games are 3 to 4 hours. So you always have to be smiley out there, jumping up
Oh
and
yeah.
down. And of course, you have to be strong, being able to maintain that endurance and just be strong in general and have a good physique. And I just think that I've always been a performer. And then I got into running later in life. So that's now another avenue of my athlete self that I'm getting into is I just ran my fourth marathon. So I think I have had quite the great journey as an athlete, and I just love sports. So I'm really glad that I was able to do dancing in the professional industry for sports, and that was always my dream.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know you mentioned the term endurance when it comes to being when it comes to being a dancer. I know the sports that I've played in my earlier years. I mean, I know I played a lot of football and baseball, and all. I know that involved a lot of strength and a little bit of endurance stuff too. But what kind of workout regimen would you say that somebody who did what you do or did uh kind of goes through?
I think, well, we always, as for me, I always
Mm,
did additional workouts outside of dancing, but I
mhm.
think your best shot for to get in shape as a dancer is to dance. I mean,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
there's nothing harder than dancing. Like I can do a marathon, run long distance, and I think still like a 2 minute dance routine hardcore is like the hardest thing to do. So I would say dancing, if you want to do that, the best way to get your endurance there is to dance. And then also keeping up your strength as well, just doing like your typical squats and working on your arms too, so it can balance all out because you just don't want to be all cardio and no strength.
I got you. I got you. And I'll say the main reasoning behind that question that I asked is because I mean, one of my favorite shows to watch is Dancing with the Stars.
I
And I
love.
would say I've always heard people say, and I've heard them say on the show before that you'll have, I mean, even some of the professionals or even some of the star contestants said that they've come on and like during the course of the season, they've dropped anywhere between 10 to 20 pounds from just simply dancing.
Hmm.
And and of course, I've always wondered I'd say what's I, is that statement legit? Like, what exactly is making them drop the weight? And I guess it's just, I mean, the fast, non-typical movements that are being made inside those dances because I guess some of those types of dances like the salsa, the rumba, or whatever dance they do during the week, I mean, you're not normally moving like that during everyday life.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
ballroom is very interesting.
yeah.
I did ballroom
Mhm,
growing up as well. That was
mhm,
another style of dance I got into when I was older. But ballroom, I mean, the slower dances are a little bit easier, but
mhm.
I personally did Latin, which is rumba, samba, jive, and paso doble.
Mhm.
Those are that was the hardest thing I've had to do in my life because they do rounds and you're just out there and then it's really, really fast. So I just
Oh
think
yeah.
it like you're
Mhm,
moving and you just like can't catch your breath and it's just like dance after dance. I If you don't dance, it's a different kind of workout and
mhm.
it's really the best. I was in my best shape when I was an NFL cheerleader because we would practice probably for 3 to 4 hours, 3 days a week. So I was always burning and just
All right,
making sure I had to replenish.
I got you. And of course I can understand how I guess you say hydration and proper meals can kind of play into that as well.
I would
Lots of
say so.
yeah.
I definitely, it's
Mhm,
important what you put into your body too.
mhm,
Getting that natural, healthy food in there and being able to sustain that natural energy because you
mhm.
are moving so fast
Right.
and making sure to get all your carbs because those are going to be gone before like just one practice or
Oh,
just being able
absolutely.
to yeah balance a good diet would is I would say is the best. But I mean, I had some other people that just ate whatever they want, but that I mean,
Well,
as long as you're eating.
uh-huh. Well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I guess as long as you got something in there to sweat
Yeah.
out, something to burn off and something to sweat out, I guess.
Oh, and then especially what, yeah, hydrate, especially in this
Mhm,
heat, Texas.
mhm.
Yeah, in the summers, definitely hydrate.
Yeah, and honestly, I've actually learned the hard way before that you don't want to fall into a deficit, meaning that you're sweating out more than you're putting in.
Oh,
Mm,
yeah,
mhm.
sure.
So, did you always have, I'd say, a sports broadcasting or reporting picked out as your field of study once you got out of high school and going into college, or did you the term I've got wrote down here is, did you shop around with majors like some of my friends have done that I've talked to on the show, or shop around or experiment with other majors before deciding on this?
I've wanted to be a sports broadcaster since I was in fourth grade. We had an
Same
assignment.
here.
We
Yeah.
had an assignment to
Uh-huh.
draw what you wanted, and that was what I drew. I drew
Mhm.
myself on an ESPN desk, and there was literally boys all around me, and I was the only female there. And it said like sports broadcaster. It stuck with me, and it always stuck with me. And then I went into college, and I still liked it. I did my degree and broadcast journalism, and here we are. We're still doing it. So I've basically
Aw-
had this career of mine and like since fourth grade.
Awesome, awesome. And I would say too that my mind, whenever I got into school about it, I honestly can't say that I ever strayed to the opposite side of the fence per se. I mean, whenever I said all right, I want to do this, and then once I got the chance, like I mentioned, whenever I started it in middle school, like once I got the chance to jump on the radio with it and really got that firsthand experience, all right, sit down and do it. I was like, that was more fun than I actually thought it would be.
It's so thrilling to be a
Mm-hmm.
broadcaster or
Mm-hmm.
sports reporter. I think I crave that being a performer. I love the
Mm-hmm.
performance aspect. I can never see myself in a desk job, a 9 to 5 job. That's just
Mm-hmm.
not me. I needed
Mm-mm.
something upbeat, fast paced, and just keeping me
Mm-hmm.
on my toes constantly.
Absolutely, absolutely, and and also with the subject of the work being something that you love being around all the time. I know. I think it was one of my softball interviews. I mentioned to him up at Middle Georgia State. Derek Jeter made the comment one time that if you love
Mhm.
what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's so powerful because
Mm-hmm.
I never feel like I'm working because I'm just doing everything I love. And I
Okay.
am just fortunate enough to do all my freelance jobs and part-time jobs and be able to balance them all out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, do you have and this right here may be a hard question to answer because it's hard for me to answer it myself too.
Yeah.
But do you have a favorite sport to watch or cover? And the second half of that question, is
Mhm.
there a different answer to both sides of this question? I mean, do you prefer covering one sport and then prefer just sitting down and watching another sport, or is it same on both sides?
For me, it's same on both sides.
Mm.
Football.
Football?
I
Okay. Okay.
football.
I got you.
It's my dream to be a football sideline reporter.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I actually, it doesn't get better than football. I do play by play for
Uh-huh.
softball and baseball. So it is, I do like baseball. It's a close second, but
Okay.
my heart's with football,
Oh,
both
I got you.
watching and reporting.
I got you. I got you. Of course, if I had to answer that, I would say football takes a very close second to me. I would say that over the past couple of years, being I've got to be around a college softball program
Mhm.
with these sports classes that I took, I would say that softball jumped into first place for me because of it being a lot more energetic and a little bit more fast paced than baseball.
Mhm.
But baseball started to for a moment there started to become a little bit boring to me because if you get into a pitcher's duel, I start losing interest. I don't lose interest, but I begin getting a little bit bored because if I'm there broadcasting something, I was like, something's got to happen.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah,
Softball is it's a 7 innings, which is
yeah,
already better. And
right. Yeah,
they know how to play. Those girls, they're strong.
hmm
It's really fun, entertaining to see them out there. And it's fast paced. And that's why I think I like football too, is that it's a little bit faster
hmm
pace than baseball.
right.
Baseball's a little bit slow, but
Yeah.
once it gets good, but it's a lot of games and a lot of time.
Oh, that's for sure. And I know, I mean, we could honestly go on a tangent about professional baseball with these pace of play rules, of course. I mean, you can get on the soapbox about some of this other stuff. Some of the rules are good and some may not like some of the other rules, but yeah, I would say if I had to give a top two, football and softball for me in that I mean softball and football in that order.
Uh-huh.
But of course, being that we're still in football season, I mean, you honestly can't argue with a good action-packed football game.
Yes, I especially since now we're in the playoff season and getting
Mhm.
ready for Super Bowl. It's all football and it's so fun to watch. I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you've already mentioned a little bit about your degrees, but we'll go ahead and touch on it just a tiny bit more with a little bit more detail. I mean, you're an alumni of two schools, and they're the University of Houston and Texas A&M Commerce. I mean, I'm just trying to get the details right. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yep. I
Okay.
got my undergrad at UH and then A&M
Okay.
Commerce. I got my master's.
Okay. You've already said that. All right. The undergrad that you got was broadcasting.
Broadcasting. Yep.
Broadcasting, and then the master's was what now?
Sports management.
Sports management. Okay, I got you. I got you. And you actually ended up finishing that bachelor's degree in 3 years, right?
3 years. Yep.
Right. I know
Yep.
that's a hard task. I mean, I know a lot of people have done it before, but I mean, that's a hard task. So I had to say, I got to commend you for being able to balance and manage time like you did.
Thank you. I did a
Yeah.
lot of mini mesters. I did lots of summer classes. So
Yeah.
that's how I was able to get it done and
Right.
bust so many hours
Okay.
out.
I got you. And you know I'd say the speaking of the summer semesters, that's probably where I fell short in school is that I
Mhm.
always felt like all the way through school, all the way through elementary, middle, and high school, you always had the summer off. You fall into that routine. It's like, well, summer's here now. I mean, I can go to school, but no, I ain't going back. Um,
Right.
and
Sometimes,
then
well, if you look back at it, I'm like, hey,
yeah,
maybe I should have been longer.
right,
School was the best part.
yeah, that's for
Right.
sure. And I
Why
know
was I so eager to get out?
exactly. I know in some of those summer semesters, I was like, maybe I should have taken more summer semesters than I actually did. I think all the way through school, I took maybe two summer semesters through my four
Mhm.
years of school, and I was like, well, I probably could be well on my way doing something a really action packed right now if I could have got it done in 3 years.
Right.
Right. Also, the back half of that question, were these degrees like consecutive? Did you go straight into the master's or was there like a period in between?
I went straight into it because it was, well, I graduated in 2020
Yeah.
and COVID year, we
COVID,
weren't
yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
anything, but I
Uh-huh.
was fortunate enough that my master program was all online.
Okay.
So I found an all online program. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna bust this out in a year. We're not doing anything in COVID. So I just ended up doing school in COVID and getting my master's done in a year. And I did it consecutively back to back because I knew once I left college, there was no way I was going back.
Oh, yeah, I honestly feel you there. I feel you. But yeah, I mean, I would say that in terms of like a job hunt too, I'll say that I mean if they see master's degree on that stuff there, you start to draw a little bit more eyes there too. So that's a big thing about getting a
Mhm.
master's.
Yes, I think it does pay off, and
Hmm.
um, yeah, I'm so glad I did it.
Hmm.
It was good because I got that extra year of schooling. I didn't have to leave in 3, so I did it in 4. So basically, I got my master's and my undergrad all within a duration of when you're usually in school.
Yeah, hey, I mean that's and once again, like I said, that's top notch time management, and you honestly couldn't have come out any better there.
Yes, I had to. Time management is key, and especially for my life, because I
Oh
have so
yeah,
much going on. I got to make sure that I can fit everything into my schedule.
oh yeah, for sure. And I know I've honestly pushed that. I've pushed that topic in really the majority of my episodes because most of my episodes are highlight interviews with athletes, and I know I always push that topic, and I honestly love hearing it's the same answer but worded in very different ways from each athlete
Mhm.
because they talk about how important time management is for them because I mean they have a double title of not just
Mhm.
student. I mean they are a student athlete. I mean but they are a student first, and they always seem to really understand that and know that I mean they all do it in the same way, but it's worded so differently. But it's always nice to hear how well and how well they do manage their time.
Yeah, I think a
Yeah.
college athlete, especially, they kudos to
Mhm.
them. I think football even more because
Mhm.
I have seen a football like student schedule, and it's like their day is planned out for them, and
Yeah.
there's just like no time to breathe.
Mm.
You're
There's
going, going,
not an
going.
there's not an empty block anywhere.
No, not
No.
anywhere. But
Mm-mm.
I think it's so impressive how athletes they do so good in school, and then they're able to really thrive in their sport too.
Mm. Oh yeah, for sure. So, what did things look like for you after you finished up school? I mean, did you already have yourself something lined up ready to go, or did you take like a recharge period before searching for places to go? Because I know it was during COVID, so you might have did you have any choice but to recharge after?
A little
Yeah,
bit.
a
I
little
think
bit.
once I got it was 2021, I
Yeah.
got my master's, but I worked with Texas HS football in college. It was
Okay.
that last year I was getting my master's. So that was kind of already brewing. So
Okay.
once I finished that up, I had that job already. So I really made the
Okay.
most of it. And I am the first person to have this position. So I really make the most of it. I
Oh,
do my own
awesome.
thing. I'm the reporter. I do a podcast. So I really created this position to have and get all that experience. And then I picked up things along the way. As soon COVID was over and the world was back to normal, I started being a host for a dance competition. And that's fun. It works my voice and I get to work with dancers because I love that. And then I fell into play by play too. So that starts in basically the springtime, getting into play by play. And I think all of those jobs just kind of fell into place after I got my
Right.
degrees. And then I had the one for Texas high school football in college. So I just
Okay.
continued to keep that up.
I got you. So you pretty much got some on the firsthand experience, I get you say, while you're still in college. I mean, trying to learn here, and then you went and applied it here. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. I think you learn a lot in school, but you
Hmm.
learn the most when you are in a position that,
Yeah.
because I think
Hmm.
I learned the most doing high school football or still doing high school football. It's a lot, and just you don't show up to a game like just I'm here with a microphone. There's so much that goes into it. You have to do your game prep, you have to know storylines, you have to know their stats, you have to know like what their record is. There's so much that goes into it, and then you've got to watch the game the entire time, have these questions ready. So there's so much that goes into it, and a lot of people don't know that you have to do all that prep work in advance.
Hmm.
So it's been a learning process. You have to be confident grabbing coaches, players at the end. It's just all been a learning curve. And this is probably my third official year doing it, first time, like full time, because I was juggling cheer with that. But it's so much fun. And I have grown so much since I started.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. So when did you land? I would say we've already touched on your first job with Texas high school football there. So I'm assuming that. It, so when did NFL cheerleading kind of start to coincide with this?
Um, so I did NFL cheer for I guess 2018 to
Okay.
2022, 23. I
Hmm.
just finished my last season
Hmm.
last year. So this was like the
Okay.
first year that I wasn't cheering. And I knew this was like the time that I needed to end my cheering because I already did everything there was to be a cheerleader. So I wasn't able to really pursue broadcasting hardcore because of cheer. It was just because when you're a broadcaster, you have no schedule, you work nights, and nights is when we practiced. And so this was the first year I was really put all my heart and soul into broadcasting, and it's been so much fun. So it's been a new adventure, but I am loving it. And I've always said I'm going to be back on the sidelines, but with a microphone this time. Eventually, hopefully, get up to college and maybe NFL. But I'm happy where I am. But I'm always wanting to strive and be better too.
Oh, absolutely. And I honestly don't blame you there. I'll say one job that really didn't have anything to do with sports directly, I would say, was with your job with iHeartRadio, and whenever you were out in Arizona, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh I do, on the other hand, love what you did by sticking all those subtle references inside your traffic reports. I would say it made the videos that you made so much more entertaining. So, what gave you the idea to do that?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
doing traffic in Arizona and I was
Yeah.
like, I really want to do sports, but
Hmm.
they were like, we only have traffic for you. So I was like, how can we make this a little more sporty? And that's when I came up with the idea to just
Hmm.
throw in sports references. I don't know if people got them when they were listening to it on the radio, but like I would put it on my socials and then you could see me talking about it and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But it was a way to keep sports tied in and to get some more experience for my reel, being
Right.
able to throw in that kind of stuff. And then also, if there was ever a game, like a Diamondbacks game, I could throw in there, like, watch out, the roads are going to be crowded for the Diamondbacks. They're in town, they're playing at home, and then just kind of throw in some sports references in it. So I was trying to keep my ties to sports while
Yeah,
doing traffic.
I got you.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's like, look, man, one way or the other, I'm gonna do sports. I mean,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, I'm gonna throw in whatever I can.
Yep. And my boss did know that I was eventually, like, he knew that I wanted to be in sports. So
Right.
he was chill with it because he knew that's what I
Oh,
wanted
hey,
to do.
I
Yeah.
like it. You honestly can't argue with a flexible boss, man.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I don't know why it took me this long to just realize, but I did not thank my sponsors. So uh, let's take a quick break to thank them. I want to thank the law office of Joseph I. Marchant. With 20 years of experiences, you want to for his services, contact him at 478-374-1505. Also, thanks to the Riles Drug Store, jointly with their Inside Boutique Riles Outfitters, with Merchants and Citizens Bank, Milton CPA Services, Vineyard Doodles. If you're looking for to add a new member to your family, a new litter of cockapoos have just appeared online, so visit them on their social pages or at www.vineyarddoodles.com. Turkey Creek Outfitters, they have a pheasant shoot coming up on January 27th. Go check it out and book your spot before they're all gone. And Jason's Fast Lube, located at 200 Avenue, McRae, Helena, Georgia. Um, for any services, stop by there, or you can call him at 229-868-5344. And thanks to Security State Bank, located at 45 West Oak Street, for all of your banking needs. Go by and see them. So, once again, thanks to all of them. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've only touched on it, but now we'll jump straight into it directly. Speaking of cheerleading, let's talk about your experiences. So, of course, I know you said you jumped into dancing whenever you were 3. So, when did cheer begin to factor into this?
Yeah, so I was always a dancer. When I was in
Yeah.
elementary school, I got into
Mhm.
what was it called? All-Star cheer. That's what it's called.
Okay.
All-Star
Okay.
cheer. And then I was doing competitive dance too. I was doing
Okay.
both of them until I was about like maybe fifth grade, and it
Mm-hmm.
got too much. And I picked dance because I love to dance. And well, NFL cheerleaders, they're called the cheerleaders, but most of
Yeah.
the times they're dancers.
Yeah. Basically, dancers.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
basically dancers. I know there
Yeah.
are a few teams that do actually have cheerleaders,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and but the teams that I on, the Texans and the Cardinals, they both were more dance teams. So I
Mm-hmm.
had the dance experience, which was very beneficial. And since I grew up in a big sports family, I always knew that I wanted to take my dancing to a professional level, and I wanted to do it in sports. So because I love sports so much, and I just wanted to continue my dance career and do
Yeah.
it professionally, but I love sports, so it kind of
Right.
tied those two together.
I was just about to say, I mean, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. That's the best way to
Mhm.
like meld those two together. I mean, why not just jump it in to kind of intertwine it with cheerleading, because I mean, there's a lot of dancing intertwined into that. I mean, you know, being you said that, and it kind of just clicked in my head. You know, you look at traditional cheerleading, you mean you have all the backflips and the pyramids and all stuff like that, but I never really noticed any NFL cheerleaders doing that until you just broke it down like that.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people are like, "Hey, are you a flyer?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, no, no.
No.
We don't do stunts. So we
No.
don't do that. Or at least the teams
No.
that I'm on. I think the
Mhm.
Saints and maybe the Ravens, they have cheer teams. So
Okay.
those are the ones I know on the top of my heads. But the teams that I were on, just
Okay.
dancing."
I got you. I got you. So, can you kind of walk me through the process of pursuing and obtaining the title of NFL cheerleader?
Yes, so
Yeah.
um it's a very extensive process. You try out, and then there's a lot of rounds that you have to go through. It starts out with a bulk of maybe 500 people, and then they just keep it break
Oh,
it down
wow.
until
Yeah.
they make a team around 28 to 38. That's like a range. There's no set number, but that's
Mhm.
typically the range that teams pick. And the rounds, you learn dance routines, you perform them, you get to training camp if you make it there. It's a 2-week process. And then you have to basically go like you're going to practice. It's like mock practices and do all of that. And then once you get through those rounds, you then make the team. And then you have a 1-year contract, and you get to do that for the whole year, unless otherwise there was some reason that you had to leave or you were asked to leave, but you had a 1-year contract, and then you had to do it all again. So I auditioned for 5 years. It never got easier. It actually got harder because
Wow.
I loved it so much and I knew what I was going to miss out on if I didn't even make it.
Oh, wow. I mean, I, my follow-up question to that was going to be exactly, and I thought about, I was going to say, is the process anything like, I know CMT, which is basically a country music television. I know they've had the television show making the, I think making the squad with the Dallas Cowboys
Oh,
cheerleaders.
yep. I
I
know
was
that show.
I was going to say, is it anything? I mean, is it anything like that, or is there a difference between squads?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the teams do it
Yeah.
differently. I think
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys, their process is the most extensive out of all
Yeah.
of them.
Uh-huh.
Um, the teams that I were on, they were both very similar in their audition process. It was basically like a month process, and then
Mm-hmm.
they announced the team. I think when you were the Cowboys, I don't know how they do it nowadays, but
Right.
theirs is like a maybe like 3 month period, and
Right.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot longer. But it has the same idea. Like you're going
Okay.
through rounds and you learn
Okay.
routines, and then they cut people from there.
Okay, I got you. All right, that makes sense. So when you all right, you said 2018 was your rookie year whenever you jumped when you finally made it on with the Texans. Let's
Mhm.
say so uh are you well, we basically just answered this question. I didn't even realize I was going to say, so what was the difference um in the Cardinals process whenever you were trying to get on with the Cardinals?
The Cardinals, they actually had a very, very similar process
Okay.
to the Texans, but nowadays the first round is all virtual.
All right.
So I think that I had to do that for Texans. It was starting COVID year that they had the first round being virtual. So every round that it would be first round virtual, and then you would go in and same kind of deal, have multiple cuts, and then if you made it from there, interviews, a 2 week training, and then they announced the team. So they were actually very similar, the teams that I
Okay.
was on. I just lucked out that they were both the same in kind of auditioning wise, but I know some teams they do like a day process. You find out, you go in that day and you find out that night if you're on the team. So it just kind of depends
Wow.
on the team. Hmm.
Okay, I got you. So I see. So with that being virtual, so does that basically mean you had to basically clear out a space and film yourself doing a routine
Yes.
and probably send it in to them?
Uh-huh. Or
Okay.
outside or anywhere you had an empty
Okay.
space. They sent
Okay.
you a video of the routine and then you had to learn it and videotape it yourself and send it in.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So I'll pair both groups together again for this question, and I'll say with with age ranges, I know there's an eventual age in every sport to where somebody begins to think about, all right, how much longer can I do this? So
Mhm.
in terms of both squads that you've been on, what's the age range?
Youngest is 18. I
Okay.
was I was in that situation. I was a little
Okay.
baby.
Okay.
18 is the absolute youngest. You have to be 18 to try out for
Okay.
any of these teams.
All right.
And the oldest that I have been on a team with is 32.
32.
But I
Okay.
think it goes, I think they'll accept any age as long as you're in physical shape and you're fit for the team. I don't know if they would go maybe beyond that, like 50s or older, but I mean, if I think you can be any age. I haven't
Okay.
seen it, but
Okay.
I don't think they discriminate against ages. So it's typically for my team, it's like 20s that you'll see, but the oldest teammate that I've had is 32.
Okay. Well, and that's basically the next question. I mean, so was this teammate you're referring to, was this in Houston or Arizona?
She was in Arizona.
Arizona. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So,
Yes, and it's funny in Arizona they have for the Cardinals put a 4 year cap. So that
mhm.
means at your fourth year you're forced to retire. So just to
Okay.
keep the turnover. Texans, I think their longest has been like 5, typically 4 or 5. So that's like probably the typical amount that a cheerleader cheers is 4 to 5, maybe. But you do have some
Okay.
cheerleaders that go more like 7, 8 at
Wow.
teams. I think it's the Ravens or maybe I don't know. They have girls that have been on there for like maybe 10 years. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it all depends on what you do out of your cheerleading life because you're required to have a part-time job, be a student, or have a full-time job or be a parent. You have to have something on top of what you do in cheer.
Okay, I got you. So basically, what you did on top of this cheering was it basically an extension of whenever you got that Texas high school football job. That's what you did to keep yourself occupied in the off
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And then
Okay.
I started teaching fitness too. That was another
Yeah.
thing that I like to do. So
Okay.
yes, you had to have another job in order to be a cheerleader.
Okay, I got you. And we'll actually get into that teaching fitness thing later on down in the uh down in the question list. I'd say in terms of travel with the squad, I mean, what's favorite stadium you've gotten to cheer at?
So, well, for me, as a cheerleader or for all teams, you only get to cheer at home
Oh, it's just
stadium.
at home. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you only get to go to home games unless you make it to the Super Bowl. That's when you would
Okay.
travel.
Okay.
I was lucky enough when I was on the Cardinals, I was able to go to Mexico City because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cardinals were the home team in Mexico City. So
I
we got
remember that game.
yeah, so that was a
Hmm.
really cool experience because we were able to be in um the stadium there down in Mexico City, which was actually a soccer stadium, and it was so big. People loved seeing us, so that was a really cool experience. In terms of being like dancing in stadiums, I would say I like the Texans stadium a little bit
Okay.
better. I just personal preference. I
Right.
think the
Right.
energy that Texans fans bring is like no other, even if they're winning or losing, they're great fans. So that was
Oh,
always,
yeah.
I enjoyed cheering in the Texans stadium a little bit more.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I honestly don't doubt it. I mean, I guess you say there's something about the home, I guess you say your hometown crowd. I mean, like
Hometown crowd.
I'll say being you're from here, you've always enjoyed, you just always enjoyed being here. So as long as you're actually in Texas, inside of your hometown, not hometown, as long as you're inside your hometown team's place, I mean, you've got, there's always that phrase, everything's bigger and better in Texas.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
So is the preparation or rehearsal process any different than a regular game than a regular game week when you got the chance to go to the Pro Bowl? Because isn't there multiple squads being put together?
Yeah, so for
Yeah.
Pro Bowl, they pick one cheerleader from each team to represent, and then
Hmm.
they send them out to where the Pro Bowl was. I was in Florida for my year. It was 2020. It was before the
Okay.
world shut down. So I was just
Okay.
so happy that I was able to get my Pro Bowl
Oh
experience
yeah.
before the world closed. But that's a really great honor because you're the only person representing your team and you were selected by your teammates, your coaches. So it's a really great honor that I was able to do that. And it's a like basically the best of the best put in a squad and you make like the ultimate squad with all the cheerleaders
Hmm.
around all the teams.
Oh, I got you. I got you. So in terms of so whatever routine that y'all do, whatever act routine that y'all do, so is there a is the process any different or is it basically the same? Is it basically the same as like a regular game week for when y'all get together and practice that routine?
Yeah, every week is different. If you have a month that you're super busy, I feel like
Hmm.
when I was on the Texans, November was always a light month for us
Uh-huh.
because they would be away. They had a bye week. We maybe didn't even have a game in November, so that we use that time to prep for the back-to-back games that were coming in December. So
Okay.
I think you're always you make the team and then you learn a bulk of choreography in like the summer and
Okay.
have them all stored. So if your coach says like, "Hey, can you grab this dance that we did over the summer?" You review it and then you put it together with everyone out there. So you learn the bulk of all your choreography basically in the summer and then from there you have to like just kind of adjust depending on the game schedule because you could have a week that the games are back to back. You could have like a Thursday night game, you could have a Monday night game. So it really depended on what was going on in their schedule, but we would always be constantly practicing on routines. When I was on the Texans, we did three routines, same on the Cardinals, but we were always doing new routines for all three of them. So the Texans, we really practice a lot more. The Cardinals, we always had the same first routine, and the other two were different. So we didn't practice as much, which was nice because I was older in my career. So it was less work for
Right.
me to do. But I think it just you're always working hard and you're always preparing your routines for the next. And it's a lot of preparation, a lot of practice. And I don't think people realize that we practice for hours and hours and hours for game day.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So, as far as decision making on what routine happens during the Pro Bowl, which is the center of that, which is the center of that question. I mean, all right, so who makes the call as to what routines are done during that Pro Bowl performance that y'all do?
For Pro Bowl, they hire an outside company. It's called
Okay.
E2K, and they're in
Okay.
charge of it. So no of the coaches that are involved with any of the teams are really involved. They just send
Okay.
us, and
I got you.
those are the coaches, and they have the routines provided, and then you learn them, and then they set us in formation. So that was an outside company that was able to do Pro Bowl.
Okay, I got you. That makes sense. So you've been able to maintain your presence. Now we'll jump into what we mentioned ever so slightly with showstoppers. You've been able to maintain your presence on the dance scene by having that role as a showstopper dance competition host. Can you tell us about how that all come together? And if I have my details right, I mean, did you competed in this competition, right?
I did. I
Uh,
did. I was a competitive dancer at that competition since I started competing. It was
mhm.
always my favorite competition to go to. So when I graduated, it was something that I was kind of interested in because I was like, wait, that's like hosting. I have my broadcast degree. So I'm going to reach out to them. So I just found the owner of Showstoppers and sent her a cold email and basically said, like, hey, I was a former dancer and now I have a degree and I'm excited to work with you guys. So I would love the opportunity. So then they reached back to me and they hired me and I went to training. So it was a really full circle moment. And it's been so fun to work on the other side of things, knowing what it's been like to be on stage. And now I am involved in their convention world too, which is in the fall. And that's where they have me come teach a master's class in front of up to 200, 300 kids, and I teach them a routine and they get to show off. So I'm the professional pro dance cheerleader for
Okay.
that. So that's so fun that I'm able to teach young girls, and then in the spring I get to be the host and give them all their awards. It's such a fun job.
That's awesome. I know I would say that I bet whenever you first got I guess whenever you first got started, at least for me, if I was in your shoes, I would think that I would think you got hit with a big wave of nostalgia whenever it first got started.
Uh-huh. It
Yeah.
would definitely was bringing flashbacks, like
Oh yeah.
especially to the cities that I competed in. I was like, whoa. And it's
Mhm.
really funny. A lot of my coworkers, they judged me when I
Oh
was
wow.
a dancer. And
Yeah.
like the other host, his name's Julian. He's been like the host of that competition since the beginning. And he is now like my really good friend. So all these people
Hmm.
that judged me are now like my friends and they're my mentors. So it's crazy that it all came together like that. But it's been a really fun ride, and we're about to start our season up in February. So I'm excited to get that going.
Oh, that's awesome. You ain't so you ain't got much more time then.
Yep.
Just got a
It's
couple of
coming to an
weeks.
end. It's been nice to keep my January has been pretty mellow just because
Right.
the end of high school football and transition period into play by play, which will
Right.
start in February as well. So it's been nice to kind of decompress, to take it a little bit
Hmm.
easier because these next upcoming months are just going
Yeah.
to be crazy.
Yeah. It sounds like you fishing to hit the gas pedal.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
about to go 0 to 100 real quick.
Oh, for sure. Uh, th- Nonetheless, cheering wasn't the only way you stayed active. Those who have followed you on social media for the past little bit know that you are an avid runner and have put in a lot of miles in at least the past 2 years that I know of ever since I started following you. I know you've completed what like earlier you said four, right?
I just did
Uh,
my fourth
you've
one.
oh see so
Just
the
did it.
so that's where I needed to fix my notes because I thought the one you just ran I thought that might have been your third one, so it's the fourth one. Okay.
Yeah, that one was it's
Yeah.
very, very fresh. My
Okay.
legs are still sore.
Oh, I bet. I bet. So basically, leading up to now, well, first I want to say a much deserved round of applause goes to you for knocking out a bunch of marathons.
Thank
So,
you.
what made you decide to tackle a huge challenge like running marathons?
So my mom's a big marathon runner. She's
Mm-hmm.
ran 26, but in
Yeah.
COVID, when the world kind of shut down, I was just doing school and running outside. That was my
Okay.
thing. And I
Yeah.
got really good at running long distances. Like I would casually go out, run half marathons, more 14, 15 miles. And I always said I wanted to run marathons after I did cheerleading. But then I was like, I'm already doing all the training. Like I should just sign up for one now. So I did my first one about a year ago.
Hmm.
And then I did three in 2023, and I just accomplished my fourth one in 2024. So
Okay.
I am kind of obsessed. It's
Oh,
really
wow.
crazy that
Hmm.
I volunteer myself to run 26.2 miles, but
Wow.
I love a challenge
Hmm.
and I love to train for something. So when I'm running, I actually have a purpose why I'm running now because I'm training for marathons, and
Hmm.
it's just a fun little side hustle that I got into, and that just is more for me for my mental psyche because
Right.
running I say is my therapy and it always makes me feel better. So I yep, I just got into it and it's kind of crazy, but I'm crazy, so I'll fully embrace it.
And, that's the main reason I wanted to ask this question too, is that running four marathons in that amount of time. I mean, you would think that somebody, I'll at least the way my mind would be is like if I ran a marathon, I would run this. I would take a pretty decent time to like relax and get recovered from it, and then start training for the next one. I mean, like you've knocked out four in what I've, at least in my own
Yeah.
opinion, is kind of a short is a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy because I did
yeah,
my third one in
yeah.
December and
Mhm.
then I did my fourth one literally like a month later, which is
Yeah,
I
mhm.
don't recommend doing because I am now the sorest I've ever
Mhm.
been. I did get my fastest time this last marathon. I don't know
Mhm.
how, but I
Mhm.
it's a lot. I actually think it's more mental than anything. It's more a mental game because
Mhm.
it's hard and then you have to just keep talking to yourself like I can do this, especially when it gets past mile, I would say 21 is where it
Mhm.
really gets hard.
Oh, I got you. Oh, so and this last one, you actually it was in Houston, am I right?
Yes, it was in
Right.
Houston.
Yeah.
So it was special.
Yeah. And you already mentioned the personal best time. So what was that personal best?
It was 3 hours and 33 minutes. So I had a
Yeah.
goal in mind of doing 3:30 because that
Uh,
is actually the time you need to qualify to get into Boston.
okay.
And that was the first marathon I really went into of a goal in mind. The other ones I was just running to finish.
Hmm.
And this one I actually had that goal. So it was really funny. Like I was with the pacing team that's they're hired to set your pace. And I was with them the entire time. And then I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm like I could have saved that bathroom break, but not really. But
Uh,
I know it's still early and I can still have time to accomplish that goal because
mhm.
this I'll have many more marathons to run.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, I mean, with it, you're 3 minutes off from that qualifying time. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you've got plenty of time to really shave 3 minutes off that time.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to beat once I do it, but
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's much easier when you go into a marathon just going in to finish it.
Oh, absolutely. That would be my goal. If I were to ever do that, I was like, if I make it to the line, I don't care what my time is.
Right, I
Yeah.
agree.
But nonetheless, I mean, mad amount of respect to you there for being able to complete those four marathons.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So now we'll jump into what's helping in your recovery. We'll jump into hot works with the discussion there. So I'll just name off these bullet points, and this question's basically will be more or less like a sales pitch. I'll say, uh, what is hot works? It's like what drew you to be a part of it, and why should somebody use it opposed to other methods?
So I found Hotworks. I was actually doing a college tour in Old
Mm-hmm.
Miss,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the first location of Hotworks. And I saw
Mm-hmm.
this little studio. I was always into hot yoga. So I was like, I need my hot yoga in my college town. I found Hotworks. It's a 24-hour infrared studio. You can have 24-hour access. There's 12 different workouts. There's three hit workouts that are uh it's what is it? It's rowing,
Hmm.
cycling, and blast, which is a seated elliptical. And then the other are all isometric, like hot yoga, hot Pilates, and hot ISO. So all different options. And then you have 24-hour access. The videos are rotating. So I was a member for a long time. It didn't open in Houston until like maybe couple years later, but I knew about it from going to that tour in Ole Miss. And then I
Hmm.
became a Hotworks member and I was looking on the screen. I was like, I can do that. Like, I have the broadcasting experience. I
Hmm.
have so much experience in performing. I would be perfect at that. So they have a competition. I applied online and then I actually applied 3 times before getting this role. I made it to like the top 40 the first 2 times. And then that third time, I made it to top 15. They fly us out. It's a whole big competition. It's like bodybuilding meets a pageant. So it's
Oh, wow.
crazy. It's like you hold a 10-minute plank and then they come around with the microphone. So they really put you to the test physically. And I'm blessed that I was able to make it through my second year because, like this, you have to audition every year. And it's been so much fun. I couldn't speak more highly about Hotworks. It's so great for your skin. There's so many stories about how it helps with recovery and it's just all around great. And you can get your workouts in fast. They have 30-minute workouts and they also have 15-minute workouts. So it's like more workout, less time is their motto because it is true. You can get in a workout super quick and then go out feeling so good. And because of that heat, it adds that
Hmm.
extra layer. And then it's so good just for everything. There's so many benefits. I'm missing tons of them because there's so many good things about
Right.
it.
Hmm.
And then it's been helping with my recovery, especially because I just ran a marathon, but foam rolling and they just have it all. And I think it's the best. So I can speak more highly about it. So if you have a local Hotworks, go join and just try it out. And I promise you won't be disappointed.
Oh, hey, that sounds awesome to me. If I'm ever anywhere near it, I may have to go check that out.
Yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
should.
So all right. So I gotta say that some of these questions we've already answered, so we can check those off. But I do have to say, you're basically, in terms of the sideline reporting for Texas high school football, you're
Mhm.
living my dream, and I'm chasing after what you got right now.
Ah, that's sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a dream
Yeah.
job. Mhm.
All right, so I know you haven't been with them long enough to have been everywhere. So I'm phrasing it this way. At this current moment, what is your favorite place that you have been to cover a high school football game? I know inside Texas, I know there's a lot of other places. I know you got NRG Stadium. I know you've been there,
Mhm.
but like exclusively with high school facilities because we've seen how fancy some stuff can get out there. So I mean, what's the best place you've been in your opinion?
High school wise,
Yeah.
I go to a lot of the local Houston stadiums. I need to
Hmm.
branch out more, but Texas is so big, I can't make it to all. But there is
Oh, I understand
one
that.
out.
Yeah.
It's called Katy Legacy. I love that
Mhm.
stadium. I love how they do their process for sideline passes. It's so easy to get to. It's so nice. It's huge. I think they're really awesome. I went to Pflugerville recently, which I
Mhm.
learned that this was where they filmed Friday Night Lights, the TV show,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was the
Uh-huh.
stadium. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But that was like the historic one. Of course, it was older, so it wasn't as beautiful and new. But they're still building so many more, and they're crazy big.
Oh, that's for sure. I would say, to piggyback on that, I'll skip this question and come back to it. Though I mentioned everything being bigger in Texas, and I mean by a lot of this is true. Some things might not be so true about what if you apply that phrase to it, but the new high school that was just built in Prosper, Texas, Walnut Grove. By chance, have you seen that or been able to go see that place?
I don't think I've been to Walnut Grove, but I've definitely
My,
covered
m-
their school.
My Lord, you ought to see it. That place could put some at least I know some smaller universities to shame. It's got some of the most advanced things I've ever seen. I honestly think you should look it up whenever we're finished here. I
Oh,
know
definitely.
I mean, they've got a broadcast studio inside the new high school. They've got the garages for people to go work on cars, kitchens for people who want to go into culinary stuff. I mean, it's honestly got the whole 9 yards. And that football stadium is absolutely huge. I'd never thought a high school stadium could be that big.
Yes, high school
Mhm.
football stadiums are just, I mean, some small colleges
Yeah.
are not even the size of their stadiums. So
Yeah,
it's
that's the reason I said
really,
that.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
fun to be
Yeah.
able to cover high school football in Texas because it does
Hmm.
feel like you're at that like extreme level because it is, people take the football seriously in Texas.
Oh, for sure. I know. Well, I know one thing I would assume that you do this whenever the action isn't as ongoing and fast paced as usual, but the dancing videos that you make, I would say, very entertaining, and I know that's one thing that's really I guess has bolstered your following and really gained interest from a lot of people. So it's I guess my question is that a way to like fill the gap whenever nothing's happening alongside the game?
Yeah, so I started dancing on the sideline because I was a dancer
Uh-huh.
and it kind of became a thing. Everyone was
Yeah.
very into my gridiron groove is what I call it. So
Yeah. Hmm.
once it started to become a thing and people were asking for it, I was like, okay, we
I gotta keep doing it.
gotta keep it doing it. The people want it. I would do
Hmm.
it sometimes during halftime, or I would just, whenever there was a break in the game, I would do it really quickly so I could
Hmm.
just film it and get it out of the way and
Right.
not be a distraction. But
Right.
it's so fun to do it, like kind of collide my worlds.
Hmm.
It's a fun little segment that I do, and I'm glad that people got into it because it
Hmm.
was fun to record that for social
Right.
media.
But it's maybe what, 20, 30 seconds at the longest,
Yeah,
probably.
about
Yeah.
20, anywhere from like 10 to 20. Super
Okay.
short and sweet.
I got you. And I'll have to say, this question is probably somewhere down. Well, I'll go ahead and say it now because it pairs in fairly nice with it. I'll have to say the fashion that you put on during the games too. I mean, going there dressed, dressed to impress. I mean, you take it to a new level when it comes to sideline reporting. I'll just say you look amazing every time you post another
Thank
video.
you.
Yeah,
I
and of course you look great today too.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Yeah, I have fun
yeah,
planning my outfits. I make
yeah.
sure the color of me is not any of the color of the teams because I
Okay,
don't want to, I'm neutral and I don't
right,
cheer. I usually just get the winning team, all the interviews at the
all
end.
right.
So I always plan my outfits in ahead. I have always been into fashion and it's pretty
Mm-hmm,
funny being a female. I sometimes get discriminated and not like, it's hard for me to get a sideline pass because the people are like, what are you doing here? Like, you're not
mm-hmm,
a reporter. I'm like, yes, I am. Like, we'll go talk to coach and coach will let me in because I know all the high school
mm-hmm,
football coaches by now and I know all the athletes. So it's really funny to just get past the gatekeepers because they're
mm-hmm.
the ones that usually give me the hardest time.
Oh, honestly, I can definitely understand that, and I know that's actually a great idea that you mentioned is like coordinating the colors to where I mean you don't seem like you're going towards one side or the other. I mean that's a great thing to have, and that's
Mhm.
always I've always tried to keep that in my head. Of course, I've only done it with local high school stuff. My own local high school. I know I always wear my own school apparel, which. But if I was doing anything like you, I would definitely try to do as like as neutral as possible because you don't want to seem like you're leaning towards one side.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I've made the mistake before, like early on in my
Hmm.
broadcasting career, I
Hmm.
accidentally wear the color of one team, and they're like, "Why are you over on this side? You're wearing
Yeah.
their colors." I'm like, "I swear, I'm
Yeah.
neutral. I just happened."
Hmm.
So once that happened, I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, never again am I gonna wear
Yeah.
one color of the team."
Yeah. I would say I've got to do a little bit more planning. I'll be a little bit more careful with this. I would say that the connections that you've gotten by doing this too, I'd have to say that I'd say that's one thing that's really seemed to have done you wonders. I know you mentioned about going and talking to coaches if there ever were to be a problem, and I know you've learned, you've gotten to meet a lot of great people, you've gotten connected with a lot of great people too. So kind of talk about the connections and friends you've made since you've started doing this.
Yes, I have made so many friends along the sideline. It's also social hour when you're on the sidelines, and it's fun to meet photographers, videographers,
Mm-hmm.
news personalities, you name it. I have so many friends that I've made on the sidelines from all different news stations and like different photography businesses. And it's so important to make those connections because you don't know how people can help you later down in life. Like, you want to be nice to everyone so you can make those connections and maybe later along the line they'll have an opportunity for you and they'll think of you because we had that connection on the sideline. And since I've been in high school football for a while, I am I am the well-known reporter, so everyone knows who I am right about now. The
Mm-hmm.
athletes do, coaches pretty much know all of the coaches, and it's made my life a lot easier because I can just grab them at the end and no problem because they know who I am. And it's just it's a fun thing to mingle and make connections because that's what the makes the world go around. And especially in this media industry, you have to know people to get in the door.
Oh, for sure. I understand that. So we'll jump in very quickly. We're almost at the bottom to the
Yeah.
bottom of this list. So we'll talk about sideline attraction real quickly. You're pulling double duty with that, and I know during COVID time, podcasts really skyrocketed in popularity. So,
Mhm.
what brought on sideline attraction for you?
Yes, I started Sideline Attraction because I wasn't getting many jobs, and then the big
Hmm.
reason was you're lacking experience. So
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
just made some experience on my own. I
I do
created
it myself.
a podcast. I
Yeah.
get my own guest, and it's just been a
Hmm.
fun ride, trial and error. You learn a lot, and then
Hmm.
if it doesn't go right, then who cares? It's your own podcast. You make your own
Hmm.
rules. So it's been so fun, and I just am learning so much doing it.
And I will have to say that I mean you've basically quoted. I was one person that put in a question on one of your polls you did almost a year or so ago now, and I talked about I'm starting a podcast, and you basically told me what you just said there, and that's what I've always tried to apply to this show here is like trying to make it your own. Like it's your own rules. You ain't got to be fancy with it. Like go ahead and get your own experience, and then finally whenever you do find that one job that you want to jump into, you've got something to really show that you know how to do what you're trying to get a job in.
I love that. Especially nowadays, you can make like your own experience. A lot of people are
Hmm.
leaving their big time roles at ESPN and
Hmm.
Fox and all those sports stations to just be online and do their own thing. So it's the best way to work for yourself and make your own
Hmm.
experience and mess up all you want because you're your own boss.
Absolutely, and that's probably one of the very high perks of it.
Hmm.
So you're in the middle of season 4. Correct me if I'm wrong. Season 4 of Sideline Attraction. Am I right?
Yes, I
So,
believe so.
season
I think I might be season 6.
season 6. Okay.
Yes, I've gone on
Oh,
and off a couple
okay.
times.
Okay. I must be behind there. Okay, well, the reason I was asking because I
Mhm.
mean, mostly I've just been with my episode count. I just keep counting upwards. I'm not trying to section it off into seasons. Was that a decision you came to early on to try to split off seasons, or are you just counting upwards?
Well, I count my episodes upwards. I started
Okay,
doing seasons because of the way overlaid with my other jobs.
with your
So I had to
jobs.
take,
Okay.
yeah, I had to take some time off. So I would
Uh-huh.
just call it that a season. And
Okay.
then I would compile a lot of interviews and then I would get busy again and have to take a little break, but then have some in the docket. So I think I did seasons just because of my schedule, the way it was going
Uh-huh.
and how much I was doing. But I'm hoping that I will just keep the count up this year. I'm wanting to do at least one for all the weeks this year and try not to take any time off because I do have more freedom not being a cheerleader.
Right. Okay, I got you. All right, well, I've got that fixed now. I do have typed in season 6, so we'll go ahead and we'll go and correct that mistake
Amazing.
here.
No worries.
Yeah. All right, so we're almost to the bottom because I got a little bit of fun that I've done with with my sideline with my softball girls, and we'll get that out of
All
the
right.
way once we
I
hit
have
the
to be
bottom.
out of here by in a couple. I have an appointment at 4 by chance.
Okay, well I will go ahead and get you
Okay.
out of here. We'll get you out of here. So if we look at where you stand now at this moment in time, how many sports or either topics around sports have you covered with sideline attraction?
Ooh, a lot.
Hmm.
Football, basketball, baseball, rugby. I had a
Right.
fencer.
Okay.
I had news personalities, dancers. What am I missing? A boxer.
Oh
I've
wow.
had pretty much a
You
lot of sports on there.
you pretty much got the works in there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been pretty cool to learn about the ones that I don't really know about either.
All right.
And a golfer, I had a golfer on there.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I saw the was it a long drive competition? Is that
Oh, yep, that was
yeah,
another one I
that
had
was
too.
another.
Huh.
Hmm. Oh, as I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, like you were one of the big names on my list to cross off to get on the show. Is there anybody that you haven't gotten on the show yet that you're really trying to chase down and get on the show?
Um,
Anybody pop
I
up?
mean, I would love, probably not now, but if I'm majorly big one day, my dream interview would be like Michael Jordan,
Okay.
yeah, Jeter. I
Uh-huh.
would love that. Any of the GOAT of Tom Brady. That would be
Okay.
so cool. But I mean, right
Awesome.
now, I mean, right now I'm just going with the flow, and I love everyone that I get on there. So
No, I
there's no
like it.
particular I have in mind, but if
Hmm.
anyone wanting to come on the podcast, I'm up for it.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Now we're hitting the bottom of it now. This is just a this or that type of segment that I've done with a lot of my softball players that I've done. We'll hit that and then we'll get out of here.
All righty, sounds good.
All right, so there is 20 questions. I mean, I'll call it a lightning round, but take as long as you need to come up with an answer. Would you rather live on a farm or live at the beach?
Beach,
Okay. Would you rather go on a hunting trip or a fishing trip?
hunt,
You rather
no,
hunt?
hunt, yeah,
Right?
hunt.
Okay. Roller coasters or water slides?
Roller coasters.
I'm partial to roller coasters too. Would you rather win $25,000 or have your best friend win 100,000?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I would, I'll give the money to my friend.
Okay.
100,000.
Would you rather have a store where every item is free or a restaurant where every dish is calorie free?
Oh, wow. I love clothes. I'm gonna go with the clothes.
Okay. Let's see. Are you partial to having photos or videos to store memories?
I'm photos.
Photos. Would you rather talk to animals or speak every language?
Oh, I think I would like to talk to animals. I'm always wondering what they're saying.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Would you rather be forced to listen to the same 10 songs on repeat for the rest of your life or watch the same 5 movies?
Songs,
Songs. Free travel for a year or free rent for 5 years?
travel,
Travel. See the future or change the past?
see the future.
Are you a hot weather or a cold weather girl?
Hot
TV series or movie?
TV series.
TV series. Ability to travel without a passport or ability to read minds?
Oh, oh, read minds. That's
Read
cool.
minds. Tacos or burritos?
Tacos
Shopping in store or online?
online.
Movie night or date night?
Um, Probably a date night. I'm not big on movies.
Play or a musical?
Oh, a musical,
Musical. Scary movies or comedy movies?
comedy,
Live in 1969 or 2069?
2069.
2069. Have a personal chef or a chauffeur?
Chef.
Chef. Okay. All right, and I want to thank the sponsors one last time for today: the Security State Bank, the Jason's Fast Lube, Turkey Creek Outfitters, Vineyard Doodles, Milton CPA Services, the Merchants and Citizens Bank, Riles Drugstore with Riles Outfitters, conveniently located inside, and the Law Office of Joseph I. Marchant. And that'll do it for episode 35. So thank you so much again, Taylor, for sitting down. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll be back again soon with some more amazing content. But until then, catch up on anything you've missed. Like, follow, and share. Spread it to all the friends and family. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you already haven't. And always remember that 80% of success is just showing up. So y'all take
Love
care.
that. Thank you so much.